Am I the asshole? COVID ruined my life. My mom switched me to homeschooling when COVID started, which was like 2019-ish. I was midway third grade, and I barely understood what COVID even was. At first, when I thought of homeschooling, I just considered it my mom and dad teaching me some stuff for an hour or so, and then I get to spend the day having fun. And most people do assume that sort of stuff when they haven't been homeschooled themselves, sure, and at first that's kind of what it was. My mom started working from home, and she had some time to teach me for the first few weeks. After that, I sat in the living room glued to a screen that supposedly teach me everything a real teacher can. Asterisk, I was homeschooled technically, but I was being taught by online teachers who I met up with online every other week for like an hour and gave curriculum and assignments online that I would work through every week. I started off liking it because I got to be creative with my assignments and I wouldn't have to raise my hand, and I could reread whatever I wanted when I needed it. That's kind of what it was like for the rest of the year and a few months for grade 4. However, my sister, who was also homeschooled, 1 year older than me, found it strikingly easy to fall behind. My parents were furious and thought that sitting around at the place she plays was distracting, so they locked her up in a room where she would have no supervision and a freely accessible computer. Bad idea for a 5th grader, but hey, it's your parenting, not mine. She got obsessed with P0RN and started meeting weird people, but okay. They thought she was being more focused since she described it as that, so they locked me up in another room with a computer, while I was just fine sitting on the dining table. By this time, I was getting sick of being homeschooled, and I wanted my childhood back. My friends, my social life. I always was kinda socially awkward, and I cried a lot in front of others even before I was homeschooled. I was super isolated, and I couldn't wrap my head around the actual world and the way people act, so I was weird as a kid, relying only on what my parents taught me plus television. Anyways, I was locked in my room, and I was bored. I had lots of free time as a kid, and I wanted something else to do instead of watch TV, do homework, and go to bed, so one day I opened Chrome and saw a new screen. Instead of directly dropping me into my school account, it opened up a place for me to choose which account I want to go on. At the corner of the screen it said Guest Mode. Being a curious 9-year-old, I opened the tab and read what it said. You're browsing as a guest. Pages you view in this window won't appear in the browser history, and they won't leave other traces, like cookies, on the computer after you close all open guest windows. Any files you download will be preserved. However, I was hella curious. I poorly typed in online games and nervously pressed enter. For hours passed, and I was still on the tab. I knew what was to do wrong based on everything I was brainwashed with, and I felt fairly guilty the next day. But how could my dear parents be hurt by something they don't know about? So a year passes, and I managed to keep my grades above 95 while still entertaining myself. By this time, I started feeling less careful and asked myself, would they know if I had social media? I still felt like I didn't deserve my parents. I thought I was a horrible person. Also, social media to me was YouTube, and I considered having TikTok bad, and by then I still managed to keep up my grades while still having YouTube and stuff. The school year again came to an end, and COVID started becoming less serious. They previously promised if we had all A's, which were ES for me at the time because of the grading system in grade 4, we could go to in-person school after grade 5 finished. And guess what happened? I did get all ES. Guess what they did? Nothing. All because my sister got an 86 in math. A fucking 86. I remember that year being the worst year of my life. I wasn't even rewarded or encouraged. Just lectured on how I shouldn't end up like my sister. That's when I realized they weren't good parents. Good people, sure, but not parents. My mentality wasn't even half as bad as it is now, but I already started hating them. And then feeling guilty. I cursed them in my head when they started comparing me to every other Black person they know, and then I immediately felt like I was the most pathetic and disgusting human being on the planet. I don't think I'm describing what I felt like properly or the whole situation, but I could just be wrong or overreacting. I was suicidal at 11. And I felt guilty for it because people have it worse, and I can't ever understand if I'm just being dramatic or they are in fact bad parents. They aren't bad people, but they're bad parents. My dad says what's on his mind, compares me and my sister to good children, and yells at us every time he sees us relaxed. I can't go a week without seeing another child prodigy or a genius kid. My mom treats us like we're some medal to show to other people, and every time we miss one assignment, we're a burden to this family's name. One time my mom said to our fucking faces, "If you have a brain like these other amazing kids, why can't you be like them? What did I do to deserve kids like you? I can't anymore. I'm done. I'll give anything to be born into a different family, and I feel like I'm the bad person for it." I didn't explain the full story, because one, no one will probably read all that, and two, will probably end up crying anyway. I just don't want to care anymore. I got into an argument with my mom, and I started crying, but she said I didn't realize how manipulative kids could be. "Stop your crying, it's not going to make me feel guilty. It's annoying. I haven't cried that hard in my life." I almost threw up. I wasn't allowed to cry in front of my mom anymore. This turned more into a vent rather than asking if I'm the asshole. This is so messily put together, and I guess I kind of wrote this out of impulse, but if anyone has advice on what to do, LMK. Also, I could just be being dramatic, and maybe I am the asshole. You never know. I don't even know how to socialize anymore. Every time I talk with people, I start sweating and getting extremely hot, not even kidding or over-exaggerating. And my sister thinks she's invisible because she can't even spark one conversation with anyone around her. But anyways, hey, maybe our mental deterioration is all our fault.
Ha.